All right, so let's get started. So here are my composition studies, and I focused on a flower because I have these beautiful flowers my neighbor gave me from his garden that I wanted to be inspired by. So I'm gonna go with this design. This is the one I like, and it's gonna be very symmetrical, and it's gonna have layers of light and dark, where some petals will have darker hatching on them or washes, and some will have lighter. So I'm gonna be focusing on washes and hatching and cross hatching for mine. I'm not gonna do so many zentangle patterns. I might do some along the edges, I'm not sure, but I think I'm gonna focus on cross hatching, and washes. So I have my blank paper here, and since I'm doing a centered symmetrical composition, I'm gonna need to use a ruler. So I'm gonna need to go to where the dotted line is along the edge of the binding, and I'm going to measure, and it is exactly 9 inches, which I knew from the front of the pack here. I knew it was gonna be 9. So I'm gonna go to 4.5, make a mark. I'm gonna go up to the top, go to 4.5, make a mark. I'm gonna go down to the bottom, go to 4.5 and make a mark. And this is just so that I have 3 points. If you have 3 points, your line will be straight and square, even if you don't have a 90-degree angle ruler. And I'm gonna press very, very lightly, just let the pencil graze across the surface of the paper. All your preliminary sketching should be done very lightly. You wanna use a very, not a very hard pencil, but kind of a medium pencil. So like an HB, a B, even a 2B would be okay, but you know, we don't want to use like a super hard pencil like a 2H or a super soft pencil like a 4B, or definitely not a 6B. So we will talk more about like the hardness and softness of graphite in our pencils, but for now, I would choose, if you have, I believe you have an HB in your pack, or a B. I think you have a B actually. So use your B pencil. That's the right one to use. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm measuring, it's 12 inches tall, so I'm gonna go right at 6, and I'm making some little marks, and then I'm gonna line up my little marks as best as I can. And now I found the center of my paper is right here. That's where my pieces are going to start. So something else I can do to create some other axes is go from corner to corner, super, super light. And if you don't have a symmetrical composition, you probably don't have to do all this gridding. But for me, this is gonna be very important. And I don't always do stuff like this, but I really feel inspired to do something symmetrical. And of course, it doesn't have to be like 100% perfect. It's gonna have some variation. But from there, I'm going to be able to create my circle. If you don't think you can draw a perfect circle, you can always find something that's circular. If we were in the classroom, we do have stencils in the classroom, but at home we just have to find something. And actually this little ink jar is perfect. And wow, I didn't really line it up quite right. So I'm gonna use my eraser to fix that. So I actually do want it to be even. So the beauty is that because I sketched so lightly, this erases very easily, and it didn't dent the paper. I didn't press down so hard that I dented the paper with the tip of my pencil. I pressed down very lightly so that I wouldn't have, and I'm actually gonna stand up and make sure this is centered. Okay. I'm pressing very lightly. Yeah, that's much better. Might not be perfect, but it's much, much better. Okay. So now I have my circle, and now I can start to sketch out my petals. And I did a little bit of a drawing to kind of get an idea. You know, the first row of petals are gonna be in that layer. So I kind of want to have an idea of like how tall that first row of petals are going to be. I could even get really into it and measure it, but I think I'll just eyeball it, and I want them to be kind of coming out from here and just going to about there. And so I'm sketching very lightly, and my little guidelines are helping me keep it somewhat symmetrical. We know that flowers are not perfectly symmetrical anyway, so I could also just kind of take that distance, make a little mark for myself, just so this doesn't run away with me. So, and I can see this petal is way thinner, so I'm gonna make it a little thicker. But this is why sketching lightly is so important, because you're gonna make some adjustments to what you're doing, and it's important to be able to make those adjustments without having any damage happen to the surface of your paper that will make it difficult to fill in with ink later, or washes, or shading, especially when you're doing shading. Like when we get into portraiture and we start shading the face and things like that, having a nice smooth paper is super important. And so I might adjust this several times before I feel happy with the way that it's working. I do want it to have that kind of roundness that my other ones have down at the bottom. There we go. That looks more symmetrical. And of course it's not going to be perfect, but I could always make this one a little skinnier to kind of make up for the roundness in the bottom one and even it out. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep drawing. I'll do a time lapse here and put that on the week by week. I'll do a link to that as well, so you can kind of see as I plot this out. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work only with my pencil, and the beauty is now that, you know, I have some of these lines, I can start to erase as I go along if I don't think I need them. Like I probably don't need the ones in the center, 'cause I don't think I'm going to do something symmetrical in the center, at least right now. Okay, so I would just keep going with this and building it out, and I will create a time lapse so you can see that.